Yes, I'm glad you asked. I fulfilled the filing requirements, and I'm a certified candidate for Imperial County Assessor. But the answer goes much deeper than that. I'm a 40-year county resident, and like many Imperial Valley youngsters, I didn't have the money to go to college when I graduated from high school. So I stayed out for a year to raise funds. It was during the Vietnam era. I lost my draft deferment and was drafted in the middle of my first semester of college. My brother Joe Zaragosa was already serving in the Navy, and my younger brother Victor was serving in the Army, the 101st Airborne. I left Imperial County for the first time. I came home about a year later to bury my brother. He was killed in action while leading a patrol as permanent point man. The whole town of Hopeville came to the funeral. Everyone felt our loss. My family's loss was the town of Hopeville's loss. Rusty Horton played taps. Les Rubin led the 21-gun American Legion salute. Everyone was a Zaragoza. The second time I left Imperial County was when I went to Cal Poly at Pomona. I stayed 2 years and graduated with honors in accounting. I came back and went to work in agriculture, then as a terminal manager, sales manager for a major freight company, and finally worked for the Imperial County Assessor, Walter Lancaster. When I submitted an application to the State Board of Equalization, I was number 1 on their list. I was accepted, and I've worked there for the past 20 years. Now I'm back home. Those politicians that claim that I do not belong should take up residence in Arizona, or they should ask my mother. She says I belong. They don't dispute my qualifications, which is really what the race for assessor is all about and should be about. The voters should get the opportunity to elect the best candidate based on qualifications. It shouldn't be left up to the politicians. Well, I'm an honors graduate with an accounting major. I've worked in the private sector, and I understand business. I have about 5 years experience working in local county assessment and over 20 years working with the State Board of Equalization. I hold advanced appraiser certification, and I'm certified to perform mandatory audits. I've appraised and audited major multi-billion-dollar public utilities. I designed and instructed the certification course for multi-state auditor appraisers. I also designed and instructed an audit class for local property assessment, an electronic audit program. I've instructed classes and had as my students county assessors and assessment chiefs from other states. In addition to that, and of most relevance to the present, I've audited over 20 local assessors' offices for compliance, recommending changes in assessment practices, and conformity to property tax laws. I know how to take and recommend remedial action. The items related in my website, ZaragozaForAssessor.com, are not problems but symptoms of the problem. The problem is complacency based on a closed system, where no one challenged management to do better, and a management that brooked no dissension. There was only one way to do things. It was only management's way. This resulted in the plethora of problems reported in this newspaper and the Imperial Valley Press. What was not reported was the $1.4 million in California State Property Tax Administration program funds that the assessor refused. There was $230,000 a year allocated, and he refused it for a period of time, adding up to $1.4 million of program funds. Well, there are actually two. One was a loss of property tax revenues when the assessor got 2 years behind in processing changes in ownership. The grand jury determined that there was a possible $1.8 million revenue loss. Yes and no. The recorder admitted to a backlog. However, in 2 years' time, no one in the entire assessor's office thought to place someone in the recorder's office to copy the deeds on a daily basis and bring them down to work the change in ownership. This way, the property owners would not have been stressed economically by receiving 2 years of tax bills at once. Property tax revenues would have been received timely, and other county budgets would not have been negatively impacted. In November of 2008, the Imperial Valley Press interviewed the current assessor, and he stated that he had 32 assessors working declining value assessments in Imperial County. I researched the assessor's budget and workload information for the same time period, and there was a 26% increase in salaries and benefits around the same period, or about $450,000. Well, I made a study, and yes, under Section 670 of the Revenue Taxation Code, no one may perform an appraisal for property tax purposes unless they're certified by the State Board of Equalization. This is so that they can learn to appraise property for property tax purposes, but are also apprised of and sign a statement of confidentiality. If this is true, what the assessor did, that he hired 20 extra appraisers, they had access to the taxpayers' confidential information. The assessor has 15 certified property tax appraisers on staff, 3 of which are auditors. Where did he get the other 20? Where are their certifications? That gets to the grain of the problem. He could have accomplished the same thing by using a software program. Banks use such a program, and as far back as 1992, the State Board of Equalization has recommended it. The problem is that there has been no contested election in approximately 20 years. The assessor decides to retire and goes before the Board of Supervisors and requests that the Board of Supervisors appoint his assistant. The assistant then runs as the incumbent unopposed. Therefore, politicians choose the assessor, not the voters. There has been no new blood, no one to criticize the assessor, and it has only been in the recent past that the office got computerized. Actually, my opponent furnished it. He states in his campaign literature that he was appointed by the Board of Supervisors and that his appointment was recommended by the former assessor. And then right on cue, he runs an ad where he is shaking hands with the former assessor. He should be my campaign manager. I have developed a detailed plan based on 20 years' experience and a knowledge of other assessors' offices, and I posted it on my website. The assessor, after over 30 years on the job, doesn't have a plan. He will now. He can use mine. For much the same reason that there are not too many owner builders, and you hire a contractor to build your home. A contractor knows how to read and implement a building plan. An owner builder may get the job done, but with cost overruns, a lot of downtime and so on. This plan is my baby. I can get it done. Yes, I'm running for county assessor because I want to use what I've learned working for the Board of Equalization and service to the taxpayers. Taxpayers are under incredible economic stress. I want the office to be responsive to the taxpayer, to be proactive, not reactive. A vote for me is a vote for good government. Please help me to help you. Thank you.